Hey, everybody. So back on January 9th, there was an event that took place in Texas that was called Save Texas. And it was put on by a combination of organizations. It was hosted principally by the American Freedom Alliance, which is actually based in California. And it was co-hosted by Patriot Mobile and War Room and a couple of other organizations. And they brought in some fascinating speakers. And the entire purpose of the event was to warn about the growing influence of political Islam and the drive towards Sharia law in America, and especially in Texas. And this led to a campaign that culminated on March 3rd with a proposition on the Republican primary ballot calling on any candidate to endorse the position of banning Sharia law in Texas. And the hope is, of course, that this is going to become a nationwide movement. Now, at that event, the final speaker and really keynote speaker of the event was Glenn Beck. The other speakers were quite prominent people. It included Geert Wilders of the Netherlands and Grant Stinchfield and Karen Sigemund and Steve Bannon. And there was a number of fantastic speakers at the event. But Glenn Beck's speech was outstanding. Now, it's too long for me to put into one video. I highly recommend that you watch the entire speech. But I'd like to share with you, I'm going to make two videos. This is the first of them. I'd like to share with you a couple of important excerpts from Glenn Beck's speech that I believe will blow your mind. They're really, really powerful, and they're a must watch. Before we get to that, please remember to go to Israel365charity.com, support the Israel is Under Fire campaign. You can find it. There's a ribbon near the top of the page that says Israel Under Fire, or you can scroll down to the current projects and click on the link there. And that gives you the opportunity to really help out with all the needs that are going on in Israel. Ever since this war with Iran started, there's a lot of, especially young families, that are struggling either because their homes have been in areas that have been struck by missile fire, people who were injured or worse, kids at home, and parents can't work because the kids aren't going to school because school has been suspended during the course of this war. There's a lot of struggles at home. A lot of young families have the father or / husband away on reserve duty, and Israel 365 is plugged in with all the best charities on the ground. And this is a great way for you to contribute and really serve the needs of people in Israel who have needs, who are struggling because of this current war. Okay, let's get to the video with Glenn Beck. And then I'll have a few words to say about it when we come back.
There are two things that are going to come facing the world. One is Islamism and Sharia law. Two is the hunting of Jews again. I was born to stand against those things and ring a bell. I ring a bell. Those things are coming. They are coming beyond your imagination, and you must do everything you can to fortify yourself so you can stand and stand counted on his side. On his side. Let me show you some things in history that the world just blew by, and we thought after it was all over that it would never happen again, and we swore to one another, never again. I met with a guy, his doctorate from Oxford University. He was a doctor of ideas, and I thought that was I was like, I don't even know what that is, but let's do some surgery. What's that? Doctor of ideas is a guy who can take things that seem disconnected and bring them together and say, no, it goes in this order, and this is how that idea came, and that idea actually belongs over here. And I was talking to him, I spent the day with him, and I just loved it, and I finally got enough courage to say, I have an idea. I think I can tell you not only how this whole Jew hatred and Holocaust began the first time, and I can take you through all 19 Holocausts in history, and I can not only tell you where they started, how the thread went, but I can tell you where the next one's going to happen. And he said, no, you can't. I said, would you give me 25 minutes? 45 minutes later, he told me I should get my doctorate on that because he believed it was true. Let me give you the highlights. Start with Abraham. I believe in good and evil. I believe God and Satan exist. Start with Abraham. God says, you are my people. I am going to take this small little tribe, fewer than this room, and I am going to have you multiply more than the stars in the heaven. And you will be a powerhouse on earth. And I am God, and I am declaring that. I am choosing you. Now, if I'm Satan, all I have to do to thwart God is to make him break promises. God cannot break his promise. God must be true in all things that he says. So if I'm Satan and I'm arrogant, I'm like, all I got to do is kill the people in this room? That's easy. How many of them are there? I can kill these people. And he tries, and he fails, and he tries, and he fails, and he tries, and he fails. And each time more are killed. Each time it gets closer, but each time it fails. And every time one of these roundups, these programs, these holocausts happen, it jumps. It jumps from one place to another, and it drags some of it together. You know, the yellow star, wearing the yellow star, that wasn't from Germany. They didn't do that. That was from the program and the Holocaust that happened in Persia years before. All of these things were gathered one after another, and they're dragged along, and Satan goes back into hiding and withdraws after the failure, and then he comes back and he repackages. Do you know who made the Nazi uniform? Hugo Boss. Check your labels, gentlemen. Hugo Boss made the snappy black uniform. Why did they go to Hugo Boss? Because they wanted it to look. Satan doesn't come scary. He comes dressed in Hugo Boss. Every time it drags and it mutates and it looks different and it learns the society. And it's like, I've got to present myself this way this time because they'll never see it this time. The last time the Holocaust happened, it jumped right at the very end. It jumped and it planted itself, and it has been waiting, and it is alive today. Let me give you some things that we got the last time. First of all, America is nothing but a slave state, right? All we did was exploit African Americans. It was our fault. We were the ones. This is a sword from one of the tribes that was selling the white man the slaves. They were rounding them up. This is a Muslim sword from Africa and the slave trade. And today, while our country, while the Western civilization had said, no more of this, no more slavery, you are not allowed to sell men and women and children in the open market, Islam is still selling men, women, and children in the open market. It is an evil ideology. Political Islam is an evil ideology. And I'm a guy who just raised money to help elect a Muslim in Congress out of Arizona named Judy Zatzer. Zudy has, I've known him for 20 years. He is a Muslim. You know him, Frank. He is a Muslim who is one of the first people to stand up and say, this is an evil ideology. Political Islam is death to the Western culture. We cannot paint people with broad brushstrokes. We must know our enemy and be able to articulate it clearly. Otherwise, you will be duped by people in Hugo Boss. Let me show you this is our first foreign war was against the Muslims. You knew that, right? The Barbary Pirates. The Barbary Pirates. 2/3 of our national expenditure every year was going to pay the bribes of the Barbary Pirates. Because what were they doing? They were just boarding any ship. Because if you're an infidel, that's ours. Oh, and we can either kill you or we'll turn you into a slave. Our Marines are called leathernecks because when they went into battle against the Barbary pirates, they put leather around their necks so they couldn't be beheaded in battle. That's why they're called leathernecks. And Jefferson, when he ended it, he said, because there was no stomach for it. When he ended it, he warned the nation, you must understand this ideology. It is our first foreign war, and if you don't understand what we're dealing with, it will be our last foreign war. Thomas Jefferson. He urged people not to listen to sound bites, they didn't have them at the time. He urged people not to listen to blowhards like me, but to do your own homework. And he urged people to read something. He urged that this book be printed. This is an original from Jefferson's time. This is an English copy printed in America of the Quran. And in it, this is a first edition copy, there's a note to the reader. To the reader. Before you read this, you should know what you're about to get into. And in the end of it, it said, you shall find this, much of what you find in this book. You will wonder that such absurdities have infected the best part of the world. And you will avouch that the knowledge that is contained in this book will render our laws contemptible. Be careful. Every American, he said, should read this book. Don't take the highlights. Don't take my words for it. Read it and understand it.
Okay. It's a very powerful speech. It's about a 45-minute speech in total. I think I'm going to upload it to my channel or figure out a way to get it to you because it's a really important speech. And again, the purpose of the speech, it was part of this event. It's part of this event, the American Freedom Alliance. And you see the Republican Party of Dallas County was also involved in it. And they were really, raising the alarm about the issue of Sharia in America. Now, he mentioned there that while we in the Western world have said no to slavery and have outlawed it now for well over a century and a half, in the Muslim world, slavery is still alive and well. In fact, there were a number of cases in the United States over the last few decades where Muslims who had immigrated to the United States were convicted of holding slaves. There was a case of a Saudi American who just finished serving about 19 years in prison for holding a slave. in America. And part of his defense, he said that he was being persecuted because of his Islamic faith. And there was also a case of a Saudi princess who lived in California named Mashael Alaiban, who was arrested in 2013 also for holding slaves in her house. I mean, this is these are things that actually happen, and that's Muslims who came to the United States. In the Muslim world today, in many Muslim countries, slavery is still practiced. It's still legal. People are sold as chattel. So that was a very interesting point that Glenn raised there. But the bigger point that he was raising is that Islam has been a threat to America from the beginning. Political Islam has been a threat to America from the very beginning. That was pretty stunning, where he read the introduction, the opening note, the note to the reader from that Quran that was published way, way back near the founding of the United States, to warn Americans about what Islam has in mind as a political project. And look, the whole issue of Sharia is the big issue. It's not an issue of religion, okay? But Sharia is a legal system that seeks to supplant all other legal systems on earth. And therefore, it is very much by definition, I've talked about this before, this isn't a religious issue. The fact that Islam also has a religious component to it does not change the fact that the objective of Islam is a political objective. Okay, I'm gonna repeat this. I've said it before if you watch my channel. Saying that Islam is a political movement more than it's a religion is not an epithet. It's not simply a slur. It's not minimizing the fact that it's also a religious system. The point is that you have to look at every system and say, what is the goal of the system? What is the goal of that religion? What is the goal of Judaism? Well, the goal of Judaism is for everyone on earth to have faith in the God of Israel. Not for everyone to be Jewish, but for everyone to have faith in the God of Israel, right? And that will bring peace on earth and to embrace the values embodied in the Word of God in the Bible. The goal of Christianity is similar, but somewhat different, because they believe that God incarnated himself in Jesus, and that the only way to bring salvation to yourself is to accept Jesus. And the goal of Christianity is for everyone in the world to accept the divinity, to accept Jesus as their savior. That's the goal of Christianity. Neither of those goals is a political goal. Judaism, even according to the Bible itself, the land of Israel, the place of the nation of Israel, has borders. It's limited. It doesn't have a goal to rule over other people in any way. Same thing with Christianity. The goal of Christianity is to spread faith. It is not a political goal by definition. By definition, by its own definition, Islam is a political movement, meaning it has a faith. It certainly believes that Muhammad is a prophet and Allah is God and all that. It has a holy scripture. But the goal of it is literally a political goal, meaning that the goal is governance. The goal is to rule over the world, so much so that within it, people who don't believe then have to either submit to the authority of Islam or be killed. Okay, those are the two options, because it is a political goal, meaning even if you say it's a religion that its objective, the objective of Judaism, everyone believes in God. The objective of Christianity, everyone accepts Jesus. The objective of Islam is a political objective. That's not an epithet. And therefore, it is in direct confrontation with non-Islamic societies, with non-Islamic governments and non-Islamic sovereignty, because its goal literally is a political goal. And this is why it needs to be resisted. And the founding fathers of the United States, going all the way back, long before we had the modern problems we have with Muslims, we think of it as a new issue that we're dealing with. No, that was part of Glenn's point. This goes all the way back to the founding generation. The very first foreign war the United States fought, as he said, was against Sharia, against Muslims who had the same goals. And it's still the battle that we're fighting today. So I hope you found this interesting. I'm going to do another video with another excerpt from this speech, a very powerful excerpt. And I'm going to make that video shortly. So hopefully it'll be uploaded, sometime in the coming days as well. Thank you for watching. Please share these videos, share this channel, and please help grow it. I'm really grateful to everyone who has helped the growth of this channel. It's grown faster than we ever imagined, but that really shows that there's a need, and there's a desire, there's a hunger for the message that I'm putting out. And I'm really grateful and humbled by that. And I appreciate all your help. So thank you very much. God bless you all.